has that affected the way the team feels about playing in this bowl game? I know it's Notre Dame, Ohio State. Any other year, this would be huge. But there's also a national championship playoff the day before.
Yeah. In the beginning process of being bowl selected, it kind of affected us. We obviously knew that we wanted to make a trip down here for a little bigger game and trying to be the national champion. But I believe that, at least in our locker room, that whole mindset went away after the first 2 weeks of understanding who we're playing against. We understand that Ohio State is one game away from being a Final Four team. We're 4 points away from being a Final Four team, and with that being said, we both have capabilities of being national champions. So when you're playing that level of ball, it doesn't matter what game it is, you're going to take it as serious as possible. So whether this is a Final Four game, the national championship game, or the Fiesta Bowl, we're going to play Ohio State as hard as we possibly can, and I'm sure they're going to play us the same way.
Given what you just said, DeShone, about your 2 losses and Ohio State's last second field goal, do you think this thing needs to go from 4 to 8 to get the truest possible feeling?
That question comes up quite a bit. As tough as it is to get to 4, imagine what it would be like to get from 6 to 10. So I don't know. We're just going to play with the cards that are dealt. Would I'd like to be playing for a national championship right now and being within that top 8, 100%. But you never know what next year brings and what the year after that brings.
DeShone, what has Coach Sanford meant to your development this
He,
year?
we've developed together quite a bit. Coming over from Boise State, he kind of had this mindset of a true college quarterback coach. While Coach LaFleur last year was an NFL guy who is used to dealing with NFL style guys, Coach came in and kind of made some things black and white rather than having gray area within our games, and that kind of helped me out with my development because there's always the right answer. While with Coach LaFleur, there's times where when you're coaching NFL guys, there's times where you just have to ball out and you have to just play your game. Well, Coach Sanford was able to kind of simplify a couple of things that really helped us out and bring some things that he was successful with at other schools to our university, and in turn, gave us some good success throughout this year on our offense. And when it comes to my development, both mentally and mechanically, he's been there 100% of the time, making sure that as I develop and as the season goes on, that I'm always getting better. He challenges me every day to make sure that I'm getting better in some part of my game, and that has truly helped me out as the season's gone on as the starting quarterback at Notre Dame.
What's the mindset of this team as you're here now, and how much has that evolved maybe over the last couple of weeks as you get to games?
Yeah, it's surreal. When you're going through bowl practice, back home, there's no one on campus. There's no game time vibes. You're just kind of practicing until Christmas. That's kind of just how the mindset is. Once you step foot down on wherever you're playing your bowl game at, things change. You can tell that there's a sense of focusedness in everyone's eyes yesterday at practice, and that's going to continue to develop as the game approaches. This is going to be a really big game, and we completely understand that. And our opponent is a very, very good opponent. And as much as I'm excited as a quarterback, everyone around me is very, very excited to get out there and hopefully take that loss that we had against Stanford, kind of erase it from people's minds with a big victory against Ohio State.
When you look at the Ohio State defense, what concerns you most?
Individually, on paper, they're probably one of the better defenses in the country. They from left corner all the way to right corner, all the way across the board, they're very talented in every position. There's no weak spot. There's not a spot where you look at your game plan and say, hey, we got to go there. And that's challenging. As a quarterback and going through game plans all the way up until this game, there's always been somewhere where we wanted to try to exploit. We wanted to go at it. But this is going to be a game where it's a little different. You have to have the mindset that it's going to be down to the nitty gritty. We're going to have to fight with these guys every play, every drive, and truly string together drives to hopefully put up points on the board. Joey Bosa is a threat to be working with. He's a guy that can completely be a game changer. And you do whatever you can to try to manipulate him and step away from him, but then you run into other guys who've been around the block a couple times too. But like I said, it's kind of we have an understanding in this game that it's not going to be a game where you just come out and throw the ball deep 10 times, score a bunch of points, and walk off the field. We're going to have to string together drives and do whatever we can to execute our game plan and come out successful.
DeShone, you guys haven't won Notre Dame hasn't won a major bowl game in more than 2 decades. What do you think that would mean for the legacy of this team to get that?
Yeah, I think it's understood that this team is different anyway. The way that we've gone about this season isn't like many seasons in the past. Obviously, there's been a lot of negative that's coming out of this in the sense that we've had quite a few guys go down and we faced a lot of adversity. But that kind of changes the mindset of how this team is and how Team 127 is truly different from Team 126 in the previous years. And that stat has come up quite a bit in this last month, and we just kind of understand that, we're just a different team, which has had different outcomes all year, and we're going to try to make sure that that stat can be squashed away and that we can truly leave a bigger footprint on this university and on this program than when we came in.
DeShone, you had I guess it wouldn't have been all that long ago. You had a billboard
Yeah.
for your high school?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
No, it was a small marketing thing that our school put up together. They just took one athlete, a band member, a student, and they marketed it around the city. It was nothing too big for specifically me.
What is your family and friends' reaction from home when they heard you all could play Ohio State? What were you hearing from people about, I guess, their excitement, or I don't know, what was it like?
Yeah, some of my closest friends and a lot of my family members were Ohio State fans growing up, and they're all kind of put into awkward positions now when their nephew or their good friend is out there playing against their favorite team. But everyone kind of has the same mindset that they want me to be as successful as I possibly can. They're going to root for me, but obviously they want their favorite team to win, and that's something that I've been trying to stay away from as much as I can and remove myself from. And I've done a pretty good job of it, being on campus for as much as we were, and then when I was back home, I spent it with nothing but family, and try to stay away from that whole scene. But it's time to make decisions for some of my family members. Are you wearing blue and gold? Are you wearing scarlet and gray?
You and Malik are kind of in a similar. He's not playing, but have you had discussions with him about his past going through the recruiting process? I believe he did have an offer from Ohio State, and kind of just how you both might have this common bond of being quarterbacks or whatnot.
Yeah, if there's anyone that has made this game a circled game on their schedule more than me, that it's Malik. Malik he's had this fire to play against them since the day he stepped on campus, and he's taken that mindset and that fire and try to throw it at me. He's at practice yelling and screaming and being more vocal than he has been all year. He's on it. He really wants to come out with the victory of this game, and that want and that fire is in turn helped me in my preparation to take everything as serious as I possibly can.
As a competitor, you're playing against a major team from your home state that didn't offer you a scholarship, or at least at first. Is there a certain aspect of, hey, I want to show you what I can do if you didn't have faith in me at the beginning? Or, I know that you probably have plenty of things to be motivated by, but
there's about 30 other teams in the country that I could say the same thing about. There's just another big time school who didn't put an offer on the line. They're not the only one that didn't. And yeah, does it spark up a little bit of energy? Yeah, but that energy's already came through and passed. There's, like I said, there's so much that we're focused on internally on trying to make sure that we come out with a win on our last game. That kind of erases all of the extra stuff that came when we first found out that we're playing against Ohio State.
Interesting. Last year Ohio State played the playoff games and the Big Ten game with a third quarterback at the beginning of the year. The third quarterback. You. In May, I think as recently as May, were listed third on the depth chart. Mm-hmm. Both teams had guys that were immediately prepared to play. Why were you so prepared to play, you think? What is it you had prepared yourself to do when you got in against Virginia? You just went to work.
Yeah. You just have to have the mindset that you didn't come to be a backup quarterback, and you have to truly prepare yourself as if you're the starter every week, because you just never know what goes down. I think Ohio State was a good example for me last year on why I should be prepared as much as I possibly can for each game. And obviously, with Everett leaving in May, gave me a whole summer to try to prepare myself as much as I can to compete. And now, we're in a position where I'm the guy out there, and I guess that kind of stems from their situation last year. And just making sure that even though you might be put as the third guy, at any given moment you might be thrown out there. And if you're not ready to go, then one, you're going to embarrass yourself, and two, are you truly the competitor that you think you are?
When you've been preparing for Ohio State's defense, they have allowed some yards here and there, but scoring-wise, they find a way to get teams to bog down. What is it you all have seen on your study that maybe explains why?
They have an identity. They run their defense, and they run it really well. They don't like to stray away from what they do, and that allows their individual players to get really good at what they do, and to truly lock in when they're down in the red zone or when they're in scoring positions to make sure that points are being put up on the board. As an offense, like I said, that changes our mindset on what we do. We want to make sure that when we're in those positions that we're not trying to take big shot plays. We don't have the mindset that, all right, we're inside the 40, the ball needs to be in the end zone within 2 plays. We understand that it's going to be, a 4-4, 4-5 type of situation when we get down in the red zone, and we're going to have to grind it out with them and try to make sure that we end up with some points on the board.
Sean, did you have a relationship with DeShone Watson at all? He was one of those top-tier guys for Ohio State in your recruiting class. You played him this year. I just didn't know if there was a connection there, or if you ever realized that, that was one of the guys that was Ohio State.
Yeah. That was one of the first guys that Coach Meyer and Coach Herman put on their list. I think he might have been the first offer when Coach Meyer was around. And DeShone and I became really tight at the Elite 11. Really awesome guy. I knew he was a great competitor. He was kind of considering some of the same schools I was at the time. He definitely jumped into that first tier group at every school he wanted to go to. So there was a couple positions where I was competing with him for an offer, and there's a couple positions where I was below him in offer, and that was one of the ones I was below him. And his decision not to go to Ohio State then changed things up for me. And when you're sitting in second tier levels, you're just watching other guys select their schools, and once they select their schools, then you go and you approach the schools that they didn't select, and then go from there. And DeShone obviously, once he didn't select Ohio State, I was already making my decision to go to Notre Dame, so I never even put it on my list.
What's it like to be friends with somebody whose decision could determine your fate?
It's part of the recruiting process. When you have that group of Elite 11 guys who become as close as they are, and you have those highly touted guys, you understand that you're gonna have to make a decision off of one of them. Yep.